welcome everyone to the July 27th, 2023 regular board meeting of ALCOSAN. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible.
Thank you. Darren Kelly,
Present.
Teresa Kell Smith, Paul Klein.
That's taking a pause and
Emily Kincaid here. Harry Reedshaw,
here.
Dr. Bart Gilliam, present. And Ms. Sylvia Wilson here. Do we have anyone for public comment? Okay, thank you. And just for everyone's knowledge, there was an executive session held just prior to this meeting. No votes are taken during executive sessions. We'll move on now to item B, the report on the 2023 operating costs and revenues compared to the budget. Which, if you're looking at it, it's Exhibit A. Ms. Bantoni.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. As of the end of June, we are halfway through the year. And as of that point in time, we had expended 46% of our operating budget, and we had collected 53% of our revenue. So we are in good financial condition.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll move on. Item C, the 2023 capital budget status report as shown in Exhibit B. Ms. Kennedy.
Thank you. It's been quite a year. So through the end of July, we're almost to $80 million spent in our capital budget. A big bump since the last report at the May board meeting. It's a $33 million bump just in the last 2 months. Obviously, the bulk of it is the construction that we all get to see when we come to board meetings, but there's also a ton of work going on the design phase of the Ohio River Tunnel, which is utilizing some capital funds. If anybody had any questions on specific line items, I'd be happy to answer them.
You hearing none? We'll move on to item D. Ms. Kennedy. No. Yep. Ms. Kennedy, again, the ALCOSAN Ohio River Tunnel contractor outreach event on August the 7th.
Yeah, so we've just got the flyer shown up there on the screen. We are having this event to give some details and specificity to the project so that the tunneling contractors can start to understand who we have locally between the contractors and our small businesses, and sort of like a meet and greet. So we'll have a couple of presentations, an overview presentation, and then there'll be some networking, and then in the second presentation will really look at the near surface facilities so that contractors can start to get ready for this giant project that'll be bidding next year. Right now we have 176 people signed up to attend, a really good mix that represents about 110 firms. And about 30 firms have asked to set up tables. So we're looking forward to it. The information is on the screen. It's also on our website. There's an email address. If you have any questions, please reach out. This is important for the region. It's important for the clean water plan, but we want to make sure our local talent has a space to be recognized and meet with the appropriate tunneling contractors.
And just look for our local people who always complain that they don't know or they don't get considered. This is a wonderful
This is a good event.
Wonderful opportunity. All right, we're moving on to the regionalization program update. Janae Smith with E Holdings and Dave Bingham with AECOM.
Madam Chair and board members and others, we appreciate this opportunity to come and give you an update on ALCOSAN's regionalization program. My name is Dave Bingham. I'm Vice President with AECom, and I'm the Program Manager for this work. And with me is Janae Smith. She's with E Holdings. They've been our partner on this program since it started. And Janae is the Deputy Program Manager, and she'll be giving the presentation as soon as I finish this introduction. So my personal involvement in the show back in 2011, the Executive Director asked us to provide coordination and technical support to the regionalization panel that was convened back then with Dr. Jared Cohen, president of CMU at the time, chairing that panel. And they did over a year of deliberations, analysis, and the end point was a report in 2013 on the best way for regionalization to proceed. And that's some of the background. Since then, there's been a lot of negotiations between ALCOSAN and its municipal customers, coming up with a transfer agreement that everybody could, and provisions that everybody could be happy with, and also doing extensive technical analysis on the sewers and the wastewater control facilities that are going to be transferred. So that brings us up to the present. I should have mentioned that we're also really pleased we're grateful and we're proud to be part of this program because it's going to change how wastewater control is done in our region and improve it. And we're also pleased to be working with ALCOSAN's Collection Systems Division, in particular our project manager, Julia Spiker, and the other staff under the direction of Mike Lichter. So with that, I'll turn it over to Janae.
Hi, good evening, and thank you again for the opportunity to present. As Dave mentioned, I'm saying like all days. Yeah, so I can set this down here. Thank you. That wire?
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. We can do that. This is gonna work. Okay. Absolutely so much. So thank you again this afternoon for the opportunity to present. The regionalization program is one of the 4 components of the Clean Water Plan. All 4 are currently underway at some point in implementation. The first is the regional tunnel system. I'm sure I'm not telling you things you don't know. And the wet weather pump station.
Give me more room.
I'm not nervous at all now. I was to find a design for the Ohio River Tunnel, and then in the early stages of design for the near surface facilities for the Allegheny River Tunnel. GROW, the source control program, since its inception in 2016, has had the opportunity to award grants to over 136 projects within the service area for ALCOSAN. And then, of course, the wastewater treatment plant expansion, which will increase the capacity of the plant by 600 million gallons per day. That construction started in 2020. So we're going to talk a bit about regionalization today. As part of the consent decree, ALCOSAN must make a good faith effort to work with municipalities to get the voluntary transfer up to 200 miles of sewer. We've worked closely with them for the last few years, and the sewers will be transferred, the trunk sewers, those outlined in blue, on a POC basis, so each point of connection. There we go. Dave acknowledged that the criteria was developed early in 2008 through some collaboration with customer municipalities, the sewer regionalization implementation committee. And through that, they identified what could be possible for transfer. So that's going to be any sewer that has multi-municipal flow that is 10 inches or greater in diameter. Now, once we apply the criteria to the system, we actually found that there are 265 miles that are eligible for transfer. There are 88 facilities, and then roughly 26 or 6,200 manholes. Really quickly on the timeline, Dave did talk about kind of how we got to today. We spent a significant time during 2016 to 2018 evaluating the sewers, understanding their condition, which allowed us to move forward to where we are today. This year, we were able in January to successfully transfer the first sewer, so that was quite an accomplishment. While the program has benefits to the overall region, there are some that are pretty specific to municipal customers. One of the greatest benefits is that this will help reduce liability in terms of financial costs, both now and post-transfer. Something that's a mutual benefit that I know is important to ALCOSAN and its customer municipalities is to continue to be an environmental steward. And so successful transfer of these sewers will allow for greater regulatory compliance. And then last but not least, a lot of this has been a really great opportunity, and I don't think it can be overstated, to establish and strengthen relationships with customer municipalities, to make that connection and to be a good partner. Prior to the regionalization program, we call it the current ALCOSAN system, but to be honest, we've been able to transfer sewers since then. So this is the system before regionalization started. There were 92 miles of interceptor and 7 pump stations. This is what it could be. And so this map represents if all 265 miles were to transfer, if all 8 facilities transferred and all 6,200 manholes, this would be the future of the ALCOSAN system. So the transfer process is quite complicated and requires a lot of collaboration with customer municipalities. The steps that you see on the slide now are the final 7 steps that are required for most POCs to be able to transfer. Each of the POCs that are eligible and interested in transfer are at some point along this process. So that's a great story. Everyone has kind of gotten to the last 20 yards. When we talk about current status, I think it's really important to give the customer municipalities the greatest thank you, because there's a lot of hard work that they had to do to get to this point. They had to take the information that was provided to them from ALCOSAN in terms of repairs that were required and either identify contracts and mobilize their teams to do those repairs. And so they're kind of the heroes as it relates to that. I mentioned repairs being made. Each municipality diligently worked over the last few years to make sure that the repairs that we identified, they were able to not only repair them, but provide adequate post-repair documentation to prove that the repairs were complete and the sewers were being turned over, in acceptable condition. Resolutions, this is an indicator from the municipalities that they truly have an interest in transferring, but not only do they have an interest, that they solicited their elected officials, their decision makers, those who are in power, and got agreement from them. And so the ones that you see that are shaded in green represent municipalities that have provided us a resolution at least for one or more of the POCs that they have ownership in. And so to date, we have 34. This map, I mentioned earlier that the current ALCOSAN system actually looks different than that map because it has an additional 17.5 miles of trunk sewer that have transferred since January of 2023 this year. So I talked a little bit earlier about process, but there's actually another step in the process that ALCOSAN has identified that gives folks a path to transfer. I think it's really important for this step because the program was structured so that everyone got identical terms and conditions, that all the municipalities were treated the same and that the transfer process was identical. But what this tells folks, and this is part of their original agreement, is that they had 1 of 2 paths for transfer in terms of the obligation to complete repairs and how they went about financially covering them. The first path, which is the lighter green one, is a little bit longer, but it gives the municipalities the ability to contract, bid, provide post documentation for their repairs, and of course pay for them at their time and at their leisure. The second, which is the blue stripe, allows them to sit down with ALCOSAN, review the repairs, agree to a cost for the obligation of those repairs, transfer the sewers as is, and then ALCOSAN would be paid that fee and take on those sewers immediately, and then program as part of their COP the overall repairs that were necessary as a part of a larger program. And so this slide is really important because there are some municipalities who Financially, this is a better option for them. It gives them cost surety. It reduces to an extent some of their administrative burden and allows them to kind of move on more quickly. They don't have the future obligation of doing repairs while they're waiting for the transfer process to unfold. Once the sewers transfer, they immediately become part of ALCOSAN's consent decree requirements, not only for operation and maintenance, but also for reporting. And the crews are deployed immediately thereafter for any challenges in the system that we've had so far with some initial transfers. And so they immediately become part of the reporting requirements and part of the ALCOSAN system. And so when we look towards 2023, we acknowledge that all of the POCs are somewhere along that transfer process cycle. We're very hopeful and confident that we will be able to have 50 miles transferred this year. So that means that balance of the 30 miles are somewhere in the DEP permitting process, or we're negotiating a PCRA, which is where they choose to transfer the sewers as is. And so we're super confident that we'll be able to get 50 miles transferred by December 31st at midnight. I need all the time I can get. So we're also going to continue to work with the municipalities who have not executed their resolutions. I did mention earlier, we only have 34 municipalities who executed their resolutions. Well, that's not a strict requirement for transfer. It does allow ALCOSAN to start to activate certain processes as it relates to DEP permitting and to show a good faith effort from municipalities when those permit applications are submitted. We'll continue to do collaborations with municipalities. Our goal is to have POCs transfer as one transferred asset and not in pieces and parts. And so kind of forging those conversations and those relationships so that everyone's ready at the same time is going to be really important for us to continue to do. And last but not least, to collaborate on COA compliance projects that are going to have an impact on the trunk sewer as partners now further out to the collection system. So thank you for your time.
You said you have 18 already transferred. That 50 up there for this year, does that include the 18 or is that in addition to?
It includes the 18.
Thank you.
Trying to increase their goal.
And that would be additional, and that would just show how much more.
You know, I can have a stretch goal. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the rest of the board? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Next have Chuck Collins, the Buchanan English Colony, he's going to give us his lobbyist.
Government relations.
Government relations, lobbyists, all.
There you go.
Some of us.
So we're not going to use technology, we're going to use paper here, but thank you very much for the opportunity to meet with you. As you know, there are a lot of things going on in Harrisburg and then nothing going on in Harrisburg. We have a budget dilemma right now. We have waiting for the Senate to pass or sign a budget bill to send to the governor. So we don't have that done or a lot of other pieces of legislation to go along with the budget. But the revenues are pretty positive at the state level. We have over $5 billion and the rainy day fund revenues are very positive at this point in time. So it may open some opportunities for us to pursue some funding opportunities in working with Jeannie and Harrisburg, of course. You know, we've done some analysis of the budget. We invited, I think, the staff of ALCOSAN to join us. We had a briefing with the budget secretary. So things move forward, and hopefully this fall or maybe sooner, we'll have a budget done, and so we all can move on to other things. As you know, there have been a lot of changes in the legislature, over 55, maybe 57 new members of the House. The House became Democratic, 102 to 101, at least for a while, until Sarah and Morano just resigned a special election in September. So it's 101 to 101. In the Senate, it's 28 Republicans and 22 Democrats. So we do have a lot of new members, and Jeannie and I are talking about it. We'd like to really engage with the board members and the staff to have a session with the new members of the General Assembly. You have this information in your packet, but for instance, we have 4 new members who were elected in Allegheny County in last November, okay? And then there were 3 special elections because of resignations Austin Davis and a number of others. And so we've got 7 new members of the Allegheny County delegation out of the 26-member delegation. So I really do think it would be great to take some time with the board members and the staff to meet with the members of the delegation soon. So we're talking about possibilities and we'll discuss it with you and with Arletta. I think it'd be great. We have some information there. The new delegation, the Allegheny County House Democratic delegation has changed. Nick Vicentano was the chair of the delegation. Sarah Morano, was, but was the vice chair of the delegation, and Brandon Marcosi from Monroeville. A couple of things we've been doing in Harrisburg, and Jeannie and I have been doing in Harrisburg. We did, and I do want to mention the Shapiro administration too. A lot of new people in the administration, the Shapiro administration. We had some meetings in Harrisburg. I think it'd be great for you guys to come to Harrisburg. Darren Kelly and I were just with the governor about 3 hours ago. He's in town. He was getting briefed on the Esplanade project, which abuts ALCOSAN. So I think that's really critical that we stay in touch with the governor, and Patrick Joyle is his local person here. I think it's really important we engage with the governor too. Giving you another reason, because Harry and I would love to go to Harrisburg, right? I miss it so much. We did have a trip in the spring in Harrisburg, met with the delegation. I think we had about 15 members of the delegation. The 11 members are listed there. Went over a number of the priorities of ALCOSAN. I think it was a very positive trip. Had a number of other members during that time. Again, that list is there. We have money available. The federal government with the infrastructure proposal funneling through the state. That's something also we should be talking about in establishing your funding priorities. There's another piece of legislation under consideration right now in the General Assembly, but you can look at those. Nothing's really moving again now until September 18th, when probably the Senate's coming back, and on the September 26th, when the House is coming back. We also had a tour of the State Correctional Institution, which abuts ALCOSAN, this spring, with representatives of the Department of Community Economic Development, Department of Corrections, the Allegheny County Department of Economic Development, Urban Redevelopment Authority, about the plans for that facility. Obviously, that's very critically important, as the Esplanade is, for the future development of this area. So I think it was a positive experience too. And then we did spend some time with State Representative Rob McCurry, Republican from the North Hills, with a number of questions about the rate structure, things like that. Jeannie came out and I was there, and some of the staff in Buchanan and your Stone reading. And I think we had a very positive meeting with Representative McCurry. So with that, I mean, that's basically the overview. We hope to have some ideas with respect to funding requests from ALCOSAN, but we do think it would be really good to engage, and because the relationships established with these members of the General Assembly and with the governor's administration are critically important. So we hope we can get something scheduled sometime either in August or early September. With that, I'll take a breath and I will answer any questions you may have regarding outreach to members of the General Assembly or corrections from one of the current members of the General Assembly.
The only correction that I have is we changed our bylaws a little bit in the Democratic delegation. So Brandon Markozic is the vice chair for the county, and Ariane Abney is the vice chair for the city, and there's no longer a treasurer position.
Because you don't have any money. Yeah. Any other questions?
The meeting that you want to set up with us will be here.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be here and somewhere.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in the city, something, so we're not traveling to Harrisburg.
Oh, no. Well, but I think somewhere, maybe a tour or a briefing or something like that, maybe a breakfast meeting or something, you know, we can work on the logistics, but I do think it's important we do something soon to engage, especially with the new members of the delegation.
Sure. If they've never been here before, the tour ideas, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Chuck, thank you. You're a master at this business. You're a veteran. We're very lucky to have you and your team. Known you for a lot of years, and you are amazing, Harrisburg. So please,
I'll give you my wife's phone number. Thank you all very much.
Thank
And
you.
I wanted to thank Representative Kincaid for helping us with the trip that we did make to Harrisburg. It was very helpful,
Thank you.
dragging people in.
Thank you, and thank you, everybody.
See you in a minute.
All right, next up in our information items is Ken Slater, which is going to talk to us about our most wonderful ALCOSAN open house.
Right.
Open house. We're so excited. So good evening, everyone. I just want to share with you information regarding our open house, rain or shine. Saturday, September 16th from 9 to 4. This is our award-winning open house. It is a very family-friendly event. We will have some new components to it. We will also have hands-on environmental experiences. Please like us on social media. Check out our website. Although our footprint may be smaller, the experience will be monumental. I promise you that. So please mark your calendars, make sure that you have one of our flyers here. And again, watch for all of our social media posts and check out our website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo!
That's fun. Okay. Our executive director is going to tell us about these construction changes that we can see on Exhibit F, Exhibit C.
Madam Chair, we have a single change order immediately in the contingency category. This is 1759. The environmental compliance facility, and it's a combination. You've got some credit, you've got some cost increase. It truly is a smorgasbord. I believe this is the one, yes, where we were able to reuse some aggregate for fill here on site. So of course we get something for that. And we had a minor, I guess what you can consider to be like a fender bender with a gate that ended up being a credit for repair. Again, a variety of changes.
I report active second our executive director to include construction change orders that are less than 30,000 correspond to Exhibit D. Ms. Williams.
Again, a single change in this category and very straightforward. The water line had to be rerouted because of electrical interference, electrical conduit interference.
Into action items down, we need to approve the minutes of the board meeting from June 27th.
Notice that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If you find, just raise your hand. We can read.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion is approved. The minutes are approved. Item B is to consider paying the invoices that are in excess of 20,100. This corresponds to Exhibit E. Ms. Williams.
Madam Chair, you have questions about invoices as received with your preliminary documentation, we'll be pleased to respond.
Hearing no questions, can I please have a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, then approved. Item C is a motion to authorize the preparation of specifications and advertising for bids for the contract number 1792 elevator maintenance service. This is discussed briefly on the.
Yeah. Sometimes less is more. You said it, elevator maintenance service.
Okay. No questions, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item B is a motion to approve the following change orders that exceed $30,000 in value. This corresponds with Exhibit B. We're looking at contract 1773A, 1729G, and contract 1739E.
Madam Chair, this first change order is just so intriguing. We could talk about it. I don't know how long, but it comes down to a need to limit the expansion of invasive species at the Sheridan Park location, something we agreed to do. So it's not simply something that we choose to do. And I didn't even know what all kinds of things were. I think canary weed, no, canary grass, poison hemlock, everybody knows. Loose strife,
Loose strife.
loose strife, what in the world, anyway. So, yeah, this good change, and we better do it so we can keep the weeds down. All right, and the second one for 1720, again, another combination of credits and additions. The first piece of credit is pretty significant. We opted to change the exterior surface of the building, and that netted a pretty big change. Some of the other pieces, not so much, but then we were able to come with an opportunity to have access to a main sewage pump. I would say a little better and a little longer than originally anticipated. That's a pretty good chunk of change. So the credit in that kind of balanced out overall. Good for the project. The last one, electrical distribution system of 1735 E. Just what it says. It's work that was necessary for changing out both wire components. I think it's copper and fiber optic, but certainly not as scintillating as invasive species, but necessary.
And Mr. Junker, is it appropriate that these three can be voted on at one time?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Motion to accept the change orders.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Okay, we will move on to items E, F, G, and H are items that were discussed and recommended to come to the board from our Professional Services Committee meeting that was held July 13th. Start with item E, the motion to award the retained engineer to Hatch and authorize the executive director to negotiate a fee as follows.
Madam Chair, again, fairly straightforward. The retained is the engineer of record, touches every aspect of the organization, from assisting with sufficient preparation and submission of permits to support for the annual operating and capital budgets, plus all the engineering that falls in between those two bookends. Hatch has provided excellent service, and it is our recommendation to continue with them.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item F is a motion to award construction management services for contract 1779, the annual interceptor cleaning to JMT and to authorize executive director to negotiate. Ms. Williams.
Madam Chair, most of this work will be associated with the eastern portion of the system, Thompson Run, Turtle Creek, Thompson, Turtle. However, there is a piece on Chartiers. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, it's, and it, as it says, annual interceptor cleaning.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And item G is a motion for modification of the service authorization 314 for Keystone Acquisition Services under the agreement for engineering consultant services for an additional 1 year and no cost extension. Ms. Williams.
You like that part? No cost.
I made sure you mentioned that. I made sure.
But this is as indicated for property acquisition support. So property acquisition is not simply the acquisition, but identification, professionals who do this, who can walk you through and take care of all the fine details that go along with it to make sure our needs are being met. But in that process, even more importantly, that the people we're dealing with are being treated fairly, having both Keystone and Hannah, which is the next item on board, has been a definite benefit. They were each awarded 3-year contracts in 2018 with 2 optional 1-year extension periods. We're at the point to extend. We did not move forward as quickly as anticipated when first awarded, and that's why we still have remaining budget. If you make me say all of that again for 80.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
For item H, it's the same, it's an extension, no cost. Extension, it's a additional 1 year to, for Hannah Langos Wilson House. And there's nothing more because Ms. Williams already explained all in this last one.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Item I is a motion to rescind the award offer for project 2021-01-021 under the Green Reader it's the GROW program. Due to the substantial changes in the project scope, Ms. Williams.
See, I thought you were gonna say due to the subaqueous changes. I thought we were going to go there.
Save it for another time.
Thank you. It is rare that we come to the board with a need to rescind an award that has been made through the growth program. This is one of those, again, rare times. This is a PWSA project that we've been working with them on for quite some time. It just has not developed to the point it needed to by this time. The portions of the project that we believed initially would be most beneficial have changed and have changed substantially. Our program guidelines require that because of those changes, the board needs to take this action. This is not final. We will continue to work with PWSA to determine how they can resubmit and resubmit successfully. That's the point of the program, not just to say we did something, to be able to achieve something. And we have examples of other communities, other projects that have been rescinded. We worked with them, came back, re-awarded it with a good result. We're looking forward to that here.
I agree, I think we will. If we will, because it's needed. Just do that because instead of me always asking for motions.
Wasn't sure if there were other comments, but
Not here no more. Let's have one.
motion to rescind.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's approved. I see that we have no new business on the agenda.
That was correct.
Okay, so our next board meeting will be September 28th because we take a break in August. All right. All in favor about anything? Oh, no.
Aye.